On this edition of Gameball College Kickoff, we're going to review the weekend that was Week 5. As well, get into our second segment, we're going to discuss, is there any team out there that could potentially beat the Alabama Crimson Tide as they are standing at the top of the nation? They seem to be handling their business this season. Is there anyone? Mike will break that down for you, as well as give you the top 4 matchups to look out for in Week 6 coming ahead on this edition of Gameball College Kickoff. And, of course, it starts now.
What's happening, everyone?
Welcome to Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. I'm Marcus Young, Genius Jenkins.
It's your boy, Michael Riley.
And of course, we're going to hold it down for Luke Hartnett, who can't be here with us this week. So shout out to Luke Hartnett again, man. We're going to hold it down for you. We got you.
And we're going to reveal his picks as well.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start things off with a recap of everything that happened in Week 5 of college football, starting with number 18, Texas. They would go on to beat they would go on to beat Kansas State on the road at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Kansas State, give them a lot of credit. Held scoreless in the first half. They would come back and leave the Longhorns scoreless in the second half. Unfortunately, just was not able to come with enough points to finish this one off. So definitely a great game and a great effort by the Wildcats. Unfortunately, just not enough to beat the Texas Longhorns. The next recap that we're going to talk about, which was, I think, the best game of the weekend. I think a lot of people would agree, and that was Ohio State and Penn State. Mike, Penn State had their chances. They were up by 12 points in the fourth quarter before a great effort in a last-minute touchdown by the Ohio State Buckeyes and a huge stop in 4th and 5. Mike, what I want to ask you is, first of all, how would you break down this game? And then also on that 4th and 5 drive, how would you assess that decision, and what would you do different if you were Penn State?
Well, through the game out, it was a heavyweight fight. It was going to be a dog fight and a very hostile environment. I knew coming that it wasn't going to be easy for Ohio State, as I was alluded to. I was saying last week, whoever makes the least amount of mistakes, whoever has the ball last is going to win the game, and that's exactly what Ohio State did. Give Ohio State credit. They made the adjustments that they needed to be made. They was down by 12, and they came back and took advantage of it and win the game on defense. They got some key stops to win that game as well. So in Ohio State, defensively, they have to get better, and as the week goes, and they got to not give up so many big plays. At one point, they was finding themselves down, but they was able to rally around the troops and makes key stops, especially on that 4th and 5. But Ohio State right now is kind of showing that without Nick Bosa at the lineup, because he's recovering from injury, is kind of a slight setback. But Ohio State still has the depth at the defensive line to rotate and keep it going offensively. This kid Haskett is something special. He hasn't played a lot of games, but he's poised. He's calm, cool in the pocket. And the way that he throws the ball for a big arm guy with accuracy, I mean, it's just pinpoint phenomenal. And he led a charge, and he's only a sophomore. So he just seems like he's like maybe a junior or senior, but he's only a sophomore, and he could be in the conversation for the Heisman if he keep putting his number up. So they have to get it going, and which they did. And on the final play, when they ran and scored that final touchdown to win the game, it was game over and all that. So for Penn State, you had the game in your hand. You got to continue to put the foot down their throat. I thought they wasn't aggressive as I expected to. In the last part of the game, they were just being conservative, play not to lose. If I'm one of the coaching staff, I would be able to go aggressive. And on 4th and 5, it was the right call to go for it, but I would have made a different play call instead with that one that forced them not to get it. So Penn State had their chances of winning that game. They didn't. They didn't execute offense. They didn't execute defense, and they didn't execute special teams. So that's what caused them to lose this game. And Ohio State has to go back on the drawing board, and hopefully that they can hope that Ohio State can lose 1 or 2 games, still go into the Big Ten championship. So for right now, whoever will win this game more likely will go to the Big Ten championship, being the college playoff. So Ohio State's schedule is a little ease for now until they face Michigan. But the good side by facing Michigan, they are at home and facing Michigan this upcoming season. So congratulations to Ohio State for making adjustments and getting the win in a very hostile environment to be down by only 12 points.
Absolutely. A huge win in the return of head coach Obermeyer for Ohio State. Once again, they beat Penn State by a score of 27-26. Before we discuss the other recap, we're going to talk about, just real quickly review Notre Dame and Stanford. I called this one, so I want to just...
So did Luke.
But no, a big win by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to beat off Stanford 38-17. Jumping into the final recap, Kentucky, number 17 Kentucky. This team obviously looks like they are for real. They're still unbeaten, and they defeated South Carolina in convincing fashion by a score of 24-10. Break down how Kentucky was able to come up with this big win.
Well, before we break down this game, and I did call Ohio State. I was the only one that said Ohio State to win that game by a slim margin. So kudos to me. Now, so let's get back to it.
All right.
Okay. Kentucky is playing some good football, some smash mouth football. They're running the ball effectively, especially with that running back who's just doing his thing and going between the tackles, and also has speed. He was just wearing them down. And they ain't really rely on the pass game too much because the running game carried this team. We're going to run the ball down your throat and run it well and play physical on defense. That's what they did. They forced turnovers. And even at that touchdown, they still forced some more turnovers. This Kentucky team is legit. They beat 3 very good teams. That is not easy to do. They beat Florida in Florida. They beat Mississippi State at home last week. And they beat South Carolina, who is a very good team. So that there's 3 good teams that they beat. And that's why I say I am buying the Kentucky train until they face Alabama, and which we know Alabama's going to win if they face Alabama.
Right.
Or Georgia. So wherever those teams, they're going to go down. But I like this Kentucky team a lot. That overcame a lot, and they finally got following the right direction that they're going to. The kind of the downside is the quarterback play. If they would have a better quarterback, in my opinion, this offense would be legit. It's legit to a certain degree, but when you get close to those teams that is going to stop the run, the quarterback's going to have to step up when we haven't seen that yet out of him. But overall, Kentucky is just playing good football. They're executing all 3 phases, especially offense, get the running game going. That's how they've been winning so far, is the running game. And they've been doing fastly as well. It's just not close game wins. It's like 14 or more point wins. So Kentucky right now, everybody needs to be on the radar for, and you better not sleep on this team.
Absolutely, and we will talk about Kentucky again later on in this episode. But that will do it for the recap of Week 5 in college football. Coming up, we're going to talk about, is there any team out there that can potentially beat number 1 Alabama? Stick around. Gameball College Kickoff. We'll be back in a minute.
Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
happening, everyone?
Welcome back to Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. Now we're going to get into an interesting topic. Number one, Alabama has literally been steamrolling through Division I college football. They have been flat out handling business. Now, Mike, what we want to talk about is there any team out there that could potentially beat the Crimson Tide, and who would that be?
Well, as of right now, no. But when it comes later down in the stretch, when it's crunch time to go into the SEC championship game and going to, not SEC championship game, but going through the later teams at the end and going into the SEC championship game, there are some teams that's a possibility that they can beat Alabama. I think the next week or the week after, Alabama has to go at LSU, Death Valley, tough road. And LSU is playing some good ball right now, offense, defense, special teams, you name it. That defensive front of LSU is the real deal. They already beat a few good teams. They beat Miami in week one, beat down. They went on the road in Auburn, got the last second win, and also got another impressive win as well. And this week they're playing Florida. So if they continue this stretch, LSU is a possibility that they can beat Alabama, and they're at home, which is the advantage to them. Now, Alabama has another tough stretch down the road. They have Mississippi State, even though Mississippi State kind of has a losing streak, whatever, but it's still a tough game for them. And also, you can look at potentially Auburn. Your nemesis can also beat you as well. So those three games deciding factor if Alabama can be beat. Also, you might more likely face Georgia in the SEC championship game. One of those teams has to win and the other one has to lose. So Georgia is very loaded, offense, defense, and especially at the running back position. And defensive line, I like Georgia's defensive line. It's raw, and the secondary can only get better. They're playing good ball. And if Alabama makes it to the 14 college playoff, you're looking at Oklahoma could be a threat if they get in. We all know Clemson's going to make it in there, and with their defensive line, we don't know about that if Clemson can beat Alabama. And you also have to look at the other conference as well that could potentially get in. What about Notre Dame? Notre Dame's on the outside looking in, even though they're playing some good ball, and they're gonna need help. And Notre Dame could be potentially the team to beat Alabama. And also, we can't forget the last team in the Big Ten, Ohio State. They can also beat Alabama, and Urban Meyer has had success beating Nick Saban. He beat him when he was in the SEC. He also beat him in the first ever 14 college playoff, just ran all over him for that matter to advance the national championship. So there are some teams that could potentially beat Alabama down the line, but right now I say no. But once that schedule stretch come up, as I mentioned, it's going to be tough for Alabama.
All right, Alabama, as of right now, leading the way in NCAA football, number one, unbeaten, and just flat out just stomping teams. But as you mentioned, be on the lookout for LSU, look out for Ohio State as well, as you mentioned. The season's still young, so, I mean, we still have a lot of football left to be played, so you never know. It's like they say, any given game day, anything could happen. Mm-hmm. With that being said, we're going to take another break, and we're going to jump into the last segment and give you the top 4 matchups to look ahead to in Week 6. Once again, you got to stay with us. It's just now getting started right here. Gameball College Kickoff. We'll be right back.
Right back.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball. College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. We're going to jump into the final segment, and that is bringing the top 4 matchups to look ahead to in Week 6 of college football. The first matchup we're going to talk about is number 19, Texas, coming off of a big win at Kansas State, taking on number 7, Oklahoma. Mike, what do you like about this matchup?
It's the old river rivalry matchup. Two teams that hate each other since way back when before it was the Big 12, it used to be the Southwestern Conference, but Oklahoma wasn't there at the time, but it was still a rivalry. Then once the Big 8 joined together, then it became Oklahoma versus Texas. Then after the Big 8 conference, then it became the Big 12. So there's been a lot of history of these two teams that don't like each other. Most times, whoever wins this game more likely be competing for a national championship and win the conference for so on. So for Texas, they got lucky in the second half that they didn't blew that game, and especially in the Rolling Manhattan. They could have lost it easily, but they got the job done, and defensively was able to hold K-State off at the final seconds of the game to get them the win. And for Oklahoma, Kyle Murray, who's Baker Mayfield now? Nobody thought about Baker Mayfield since he took over, and he's something special, even though he did get picked in the first round of the NBL draft, but he was honored a scholarship for one more year to come back to play football at Oklahoma. After that, he's going to baseball. So he's accurate with the pass, and when he runs when he needs to, I mean, he is just flat out special. He could potentially make a statement and make a name for himself as the Heisman candidate. So you have back-to-back Heisman candidates for one school. Last year was Baker Mayfield. This year could be Kyle Murray, depending on how he plays out. If he continues to ball and they win out and win the Big 12, he's going to New York for the Heisman finalists. So he's balling out, and the Oklahoma defense, they're starting to improve and getting better. If they want to beat Texas, they have to force Texas to be one-dimensional offense and force them to pass it a lot instead of running the ball. The pass game of Texas has been more improved, but sometimes we still don't know which passing offers you're going to get from Texas. So Texas has to be consistent, and this will be a big challenge for them this week for a young team. Is winner of this game more likely will win the Big 12 Conference Championship.
All right, big game on the line. Once again, Texas coming off of a big win on the road at Kansas State, taking on number 7, Oklahoma. The second matchup, I think, is a very intriguing one, and that is number 5, LSU, taking on the number 22, Florida Gators. Mike, how would you break down this matchup?
Another rivalry, the Battle of the Swamps. One is in Louisiana, and the other one's in Florida. This has been a long rivalry, and for what I'm going to say for this game is the team that holds the ball last and makes least amount of mistakes is going to win this game. Now, Florida is coming off a win at Mississippi State, and they got a lot of work to do because they got a very good LSU team that's coming off a winning streak and playing off with some confidence right now since they beat some big teams that they needed to beat. So for Florida, they have to get that offensive going. You have to be consistent in running and passing game. Mix it up a little bit. Throw some wrinkles that LSU has not seen this year. I think Dan Mullen, the head coach of Florida, would do a good job after that, keep his players focused, and also getting some be creative with the play calling as well. And defense for Florida, they have to make plays against LSU. They can't let LSU run all over them. They have to force LSU to be a passing team, one-dimensional offense to beat them. If Florida can do that, then they'll win this game at home. For LSU, just keep doing what you're doing. Play smash-mouth physical football, run the ball, be consistent in the passing game, and also play a good smash-mouth defense. If LSU can go on the road in Florida, get the win, this will make their chances for the college playoff much higher as they prepare for their arch nemesis in Alabama.
All right, some good old college football, like you said, Battle of the Slumps. Both of them. This second game, it seems like every game that we're going to talk about, there's a lot on the line. There's a lot riding, potentially college playoff for all these teams that we're mentioning. And speaking of which, Kentucky going down from number 17, they moved up to number 13 in the polls this week, taking on Texas A&M. Do you see them continuing to impress?
If they keep doing what they're doing and keep the train rolling, anything is possible. But they haven't went into Texas A&M and won yet or in a while. I don't know what's the last time Kentucky beat Texas A&M in Texas. I had to do some research on it, but this is a big game for Kentucky because it's a very hostile environment, and Texas A&M is going to play some ball, and they're going to be real physical, even though Kentucky has to bear a record, but they cannot sleep against Texas A&M because if you sleep against Texas A&M, they'll catch you off guard. And the running game, I'm not concerned with Kentucky. It's the passing game of Kentucky that I'm really concerned going to this hostile environment against a very good, talented defensive line in Texas A&M, especially that front seven. The secondary is still improving, but Texas A&M front seven can get Kentucky offense a lot of trouble and stop the run and force Kentucky to be one-dimensional offense. So the passing game has to be a factor in this game going to a hostile environment, because if the running game's not there, you're going to have to be more reluctant and relying on the passing game to get you to win. So for Kentucky, they have to play good defense like they've been doing, forced turnovers, offensively, get the running game going, and be very consistent in the pass game. The pass game is going to have to lift this team up on the road. For the Texas A&M, they have to stop the run. Force Kentucky to be a one-dimensional offense. Force Kentucky to air it out. If you can do that, chances are you'll win at home, and you'll be the team that gave them their first loss of the season.
All right, Kentucky looking to improve to 6-0 on the year. They have a Texas A&M team looking to greet them as they will be at home taking on the Wildcats. The fourth and final matchup, Notre Dame also coming off a big win. Of course, we know they won 38-17 over Stanford. They're taking on number 24 Texas Tech.
Virginia
Tech. Thank you, Mike. What do you like about this matchup?
Notre Dame is riding with some confidence now. Ever since they made that quarterback change, their offense is starting to score more points, and the passing game is starting to take off along with that very good defense that Notre Dame has. And they blew Stanford out the water like it wasn't nothing. They shut down Bryce Love, even though Bryce Love had that long run for touchdown. They forced Stanford to be a one-dimensional offense and force him to be in the passing game. They was mixing up the coverage with some zone schemes and some press man coverage and disguise and some stunts and all that between the tackles. That's how they was successful defensively against Stanford. Offensively, they were just scoring points. And I think by making this quarterback switch, this takes their offense to another level to where they can compete with some of the other offenses as they did in the past couple weeks. Week one, Wimbush had some issues, even though he threw a touchdown pass. He's still a little inconsistent in the passing game. In the next game, he was still inconsistent. That's why they made the move from Wimbush to the other quarterback. And Notre Dame has to keep that train rolling. For Virginia Tech, you still got to feel disgusting how you let that other team beat you like that. I mean, that pretty much ruined your chances of getting to the college playoff and potentially winning the conference. So Virginia Tech has to be very physical in this game. They must shut Notre Dame's passing game down. If they shut their passing game down along with the running game, Virginia Tech did their job. They cannot afford to sleep on Notre Dame's offense because Notre Dame can put up some points. So Virginia Tech has to be very sound and be disciplined in the defense. If they are disciplined and they play fundamentally sound football on defense, Virginia Tech will have success of winning on defense offensively. They have to get it going. They have to score more points because in week 1, Virginia Tech was rolling against Florida State. So in order that to happen, they have to keep the train rolling and keep it going. If Virginia Tech can do that offensively, they might shot Notre Dame's defense and get the win at home. That's the only advantage that Virginia Tech has is they're at home playing this game.
All right, Virginia Tech. Notre Dame, of course, coming off of that big win against Stanford, looking to keep things rolling against Virginia Tech. With that being said, that's going to take us to our final segment, and that is our predictions. We will also provide you, once again, with Luke's picks going into Week 6 as well. Starting with number 19, Texas and Oklahoma. Mike, who you got in this one?
I was just messing with this last couple of days. I was out digesting and dissected this picks. I'm going Oklahoma. I am not sold on Texas yet. They barely won on the road in Little Apple in Manhattan against K-State, and they had a letdown the second half until last critical plays, offensive, defensive, that they made to win that game. I just feel like Oklahoma has way too much talent offensively, and how you going to stop Kyle Murray? And defensively, Oklahoma is improvement. If they can do that, they can win this game. But I'm saying it's going to be a close one. Oklahoma wins. The score of 27-20, Oklahoma Sooners over Texas Longhorns in this Red River rivalry.
All right, I agree with you as well. I like Oklahoma as well. Texas definitely can't play like they did in the second half against Kansas State and expect to win this one. Oklahoma, I agree with you. I think they're a lot more talented offensively. Texas, granted that they had the opportunity to kind of tweak the things that they kind of made mistakes on in Manhattan last Saturday, but I like Oklahoma in this one as well.
And Luke picks Oklahoma to win as well. And so let's go on to the next one.
All right, number 5, LSU. Number 22, Florida.
I'm going to go with LSU. Florida is still along in the new system of Dan Mullen. It's going to take them some more time. But I feel like LSU confidence is ready right now. They have a lot of confidence. They're right on a high ceiling, and they're playing some good football. And that defensive line for LSU is going to give Florida's offensive line some problems, and they're going to force them to be one-dimensional offense. And it could get close, potentially to be a bigger lead in the second half towards the end of the game. So I'm going to say LSU wins this one, score of 31-17 on the road.
31-17? Yeah, I've seen this matchup, and I'm not going to lie, I juggled this one as well. Excuse me, I really don't think you could go wrong with either picking this one. I agree with what you said. You know, this is still Florida coming back to prominence, coming back to the program that we're used to seeing. With that being said, I do like LSU. They're a lot more seasoned. They do have a lot of talent offensively and defensively. I think they'll get it done against Florida.
All right, Luke has picked LSU to win over Florida, and the next one is Kentucky versus Texas A&M. Who are you rolling?
I like Kentucky. Like I really believe that this team is for real. I think they'll improve to 6-0. They're definitely going to continue to grow as a team and get themselves on the radar. Of course, they haven't they haven't necessarily played the cream of the crop yet in the SEC, but I still think that this team is for real. I think they'll get it done against A&M on the road.
I'm a roll with Kentucky as well, but in a slight margin. It's going to be very difficult in a very hostile environment at the 12th Man Stadium at Texas A&M in Aggie Land. But I feel like Kentucky offensively will get enough done, and I like Kentucky's defense to get it done as well, to force more turnovers and 3-and-outs. So I like Kentucky to win a slight margin on the road. I'm going to say the score of 17-15 late field goal. Kentucky wins.
All right. Number 6, Notre Dame. Number 22, Virginia Tech.
I like Notre Dame to continue to keep rolling. I mean, ever since they switched their quarterbacks, like I was alluding to, they are not stop scoring offensively. And Notre Dame's defense is playing some good football right now. They'll be very physical and attacking the point. and getting penetration and get to the backfield to rush the passer and stop the running game and force turnovers and the secondary. So I like Notre Dame to win on the road. I like them winning the score of 38-20.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame on this one as well. Coming off a huge win, mind you, at Stanford. I mean, definitely wasn't as close as anyone thought it was going to be. I think they're riding into this game with a lot of confidence. I mean, Virginia Tech, that's a tough place to play for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they will find a way to get it done. I agree. I think this is going to be a close game as well. I think it's going to come down to a last-second touchdown. Notre Dame will find a way to get it done against Virginia Tech on the road.
And Luke has picked Notre Dame to win on the road as well.
All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of Gameball College Kickoff.
Social media, you can follow us on Facebook, Gameball College Kickoff / Gameball NFL End Zone. You can email us anything. Email us the game that you want us to talk about, and we'll give you the shout out on the podcast. Email us at gck.gnfle@gmail.com. Follow us on our official Twitter page at GCK_GNFLE. You can follow your boy at capital Gameball_Mike NYKE. You can also follow us on our Instagram, GCK_GNFLE. Get your merchandise, support us, get your gear at TokenDesignstopeka.com/Gameball. That's TOKAN designstopeka.com/Gameball. Token, not toucan, folks. And also like, subscribe, hit a thumbs up, hit a thumbs down. Get on our YouTube channel at gck.gnfletv and hit that notification as well to go along with that subscription. And your social media?
You can find me on Facebook at Marcus Jovel NT Jenkins, and also hit your boy on Instagram and Twitter as well at Jovel ENT.
You can also follow our partner in crime, Luke Harnett, on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as Luke Harnett 2, folks.
Yes, sir.
I'm Michael Riley.
I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
This is Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out, and have a safe, blessed night.
Absolutely. And don't forget to keep an eye out also for the next installment of Gameball NFL End Zone as well.